leather gloves, we're slapping in hands. Popcorn and peanuts, we're working the stands. Pink cotton candy, love on a stick. Who's chasing the beer? The circle the lips, play ball. Play ball. Load up the bases and smack it right over the wall.
Play ball.
Play ball.
My picture. Welcome to Laughter Saves Lives, live here on Strong Island Television at a Paradise Studios in beautiful Massapequa, New York. Watch this, Butch. Sponsored by Barish and McGarry, lawyers for the 9/11 community. Got it right up front. I always forget to say Barish and McGarry, and then Butch comes on, and he gives me grief, so I did it right up front. Very good. So it's nice to be here this evening. I am from home in Belmore. The studio is in Massapequa. Bobby's there. Our guests are all over the place. And I want to bring in a very special co-host tonight. We're very lucky to have this guy, hero alert, right? Phil Paz. He's a 24-year police officer, 20 years as a SWAT sniper team leader. Am I right with that, Phil?
Yeah, well, actually, it's 30 years on the job and 25 years on the SWAT team. But yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Listen, it must have been an old reference I looked on the internet when I said that. But just go with me. Just go, yeah, John.
That is correct. That is
there
correct,
you go.
sir.
And then we get the break. You go, hey, idiot! You didn't do your research. What I love having about Phil on, and Phil, military background.
Military background, yeah. I did 24 years in the United States Air Force Reserve. Retired as a senior master sergeant. Saw a lot of the world, and had a great time. So yeah, I've 40 years in the military and on the job as a police officer, and now I'm retired. And this is what I do. I hang out with John, and
well deserved.
So
well
it's great.
Deserved, my friend. Thank you for all you've done for the country. And for your, being a police officer, we really respect what you did.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate that.
Now, what we talk about in this part of this show is issues that maybe cops, firemen, they're talking about at the firehouse that are busting each other's chops. There's a lot of important things going on in the world, Phil.
Yes.
Right? We're pushing all of those aside, and we're going to talk about just silly little nonsense right now. Things that are bugging me, maybe bugging you. And I'm going to start off with, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling light on my feet, Phil, because I had a pedicure today. Bobby, we got pictures of my pedicure. If you have any children at home, take them away from the screen right now. Look at those feet, Phil.
Nice.
Look at this. He's getting it done.
Wow.
Have you ever had a pedicure, Phil?
I have. My wife and I, we go fairly regularly. It took a long time, being the alpha male, tough guy. I fought it for the longest time. I said, I'm not going to let anybody touch my feet. And finally, she wore me down, and we went and we got a pedicure together, and wow, I was hooked.
Wow.
I was hooked after that.
Wow. And all the lotions, and they're rubbing, and they're cutting, and they're taking off all the callus. And it was just a lovely, lovely day for Johnny L. Tough day. My last week on the show Wednesday, I told everybody my aunt had passed away, my dad's sister, and now my dad's best friend passed away a few days later.
Oh, no.
So we had that funeral today, and my dad was wonderful to this guy. He visited him almost every day. The family, I mean, they were so appreciative of what my dad did for him. I mean, Dad's a military guy, and so was Vinny. But kind of funny thing happened at the funeral today. You know how Italians are. We're all about food, right, Phil?
Right. Yeah.
All about food. What part of the country are you in again? Tell our viewers.
I live in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. So a little different than Johnny from New York City. We got Phil from Oklahoma. Yes.
Right.
Is that where you grew up?
Yeah, my dad was in the military. I was born in Paris, France, while he was stationed there. We moved to Oklahoma when I was 3 or 4, and so I claim it as my born and raised place.
So you're in Oklahoma. What is your go-to Italian place to eat? Please don't tell me Domino's. Please, Phil. I'll fall
No,
off the
no, no,
chair.
no. There's a place right here in the town I live in. It's called Luigi's, and
Good?
in fact, oh, it's delicious. We just went and had pasta the day before yesterday. Had spaghetti and meatballs. It was wonderful.
All right. All right. I have a whole thing about eating pasta in restaurants. I think that, it's a whole twitchy thing with me, but it's good. It's good.
Listen, real quickly, not to bother you, but we have to welcome. We
What?
have to welcome all of Phil's fans,
Yes.
who I have now. I don't know if you've gotten this yet or not, Phil. I have named your fans Philomaniacs.
Nice.
That's very original. Very
So
original.
all the Philomaniacs are on tonight. Jeannie, Cherry, Pam, they're all on. They're all watching, and we appreciate you jumping over.
Yeah.
All the Suki and Scott fans, and we've got them all in the house tonight, and
Thanks for
we're
being
happy to have you here.
Yeah,
Thanks for being here.
yeah.
So-
when you guys invited me, I was going to bring everybody with, and it looks like they followed me over. So it's awesome.
Well, I'm going to tell you this quick story, but I sent you an email before. April 3rd looks like we're doing a National Police Department fundraiser out of the studio. I want you to co-host with me.
Nice.
We're going to try to raise a few bucks for a few PD charities. We'll talk more about that. So
Good.
my dad and I are in the back of the church, okay? And we went out after the wake. We had some eggplant palm. Eggplant palm at my local favorite place, Carlos in Middle Village, Queens, right? So now we had the eggplant the day before. We're at the funeral. My dad's best friend. We're in the last row, keeping Dad away from everybody, COVID and everything like that. And the casket starts to wheeled into the church. And my dad looks at me and he says, "Hey, that eggplant yesterday was pretty good, wasn't it?" Right? The casket's coming in. This is how Italians feel about food. And Vinny would be the first one to go, "Hey, John, yeah, it's pretty good." So he made me laugh in church. He made me laugh with that.
Yeah, yeah, nice. A lot of times, people who are a little older, they don't really have any filters anymore. So, hey, good for us because I enjoy those kind of stories.
Oh, my family must think I'm really old because my filter doesn't work well. I'm just an idiot, though. Has nothing to do with getting old. What is your go-to food in Alabama? What is your go-to Alabama-ish food?
Oklahoma.
That's okay.
Oklahoma. I said Alabama, Oklahoma.
Hey, Oklahoma, Alabama, we all have cows. That's all right. But
New Yorkers, it's all the same. We're idiots. It's like, yeah, they're out there. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, like Oklahoma, it's actually a lot like New York. I mean, pizza is a go-to. That's one of
Right.
pizza. I don't know if you guys do Mexican food, but we do a lot of Mexican food down here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Good.
yeah, that's where we spend a lot of our time for meals.
All right. One thing I want to just tell our viewers is, listen, when you order Parmesan, anything Parmesan, right?
Mhm.
The cheese is nice, but don't overwhelm the chicken cutlet or the eggplant with the Parmesan. It should be a theme. It should be a give and take, not too much.
Right.
Big news today, Phil.
What's that?
Big news. I got very excited. Looks like Dunkin' Donuts has a waffle type donut.
What?
I was blown away. After the funeral, I was a little down. I drive past the Dunkin' Donuts. My car just turns right into the parking lot. A waffle-ish donut.
Nice. Hey, yeah, I tell you what, being a cop on the streets, being on the job for 30 years, I had some of my partners who would say, I wouldn't be caught dead in a donut shop because I'm not going to feed into the stereotype. I was like, hey, that's fine with me, buddy. I will go in there and I'll eat your share because I will eat donuts I eat donuts until my eyes and my mouth are glazed over.
That's so funny. Hello, Anita Anderson. So the only time now that I eat donuts is if I'm teaching a class and there's a bunch of firemen and sometimes in the morning they'll bring some donuts in. And what I try to do is I try to hold out. Maybe these guys will eat them all. It's 10 o'clock.
Right.
It's 10:30. It's getting hungry. 11 o'clock. About 11:30, if there's a donut or two, I'm in there.
Yeah, in the same way with me, I know what you're talking about because a lot of times now, because towards the end of your career and at the end of my career, I was doing a lot of instructing myself, and so you always had these young guys who are, tall and lean, and they could afford to eat donuts. So they would bring donuts, and they're like, "Hey, Sarge, have a donut." I'm like, I'm trying to, okay, you talked me into it, but I don't have quite the metabolism that these young guys do.
Hello, Scott Stanford is watching us here. Doesn't this guy have too much to do? He's here with us tonight again. He's a busy man. Thanks,
Scotty wants to know who's the bald guy with the goatee.
That's Les.
I saw that. That's Les. I was thinking of refinancing my mortgage. All right. Through COVID, I did some of those skip payments, the defersion, which screwed me up. I didn't realize because your escrow, you're not paying. Then you go back and they go, all right, you can start making regular payments, but nope, it's going to go up because your escrow, you didn't pay it. So I was talking to a lady today. I feel so freaking old. You know, one of the options she gave me, Phil?
What's that?
Reverse mortgage. Have you seen the commercials? It's like for really old people. And I go, what are you doing? What are you talking about reverse mortgage? Oh, I just wanted to give you all the options, with your age. I go, you're not getting the business. That's it. You're out. Phil, tell us about this song that we're going to be playing.
Well, as you well know, I've being a military veteran, I'm a veteran advocate. I work a lot with veterans. I try to I help a lot of them get their VA benefits. Try to get them some resources, housing and whatnot whenever I can. And it's just a subject near and dear to my heart. Veteran suicide is something that I try to bring attention to, have for a long time, and I always will, probably till I die, or as long as I'm able. But anyway, I also like to sing, if you didn't know that. But
I do.
And so I wrote a song about that basically pays tributes to veterans. My son, who is a musician and a film editor, he's out in LA. Well, he came to town, and I said, "Hey, can you help me do this song?" He said, "Yeah, let's do it." So we wrote the song, he produced the video, and what we're fixing to see is kind of a result of that.
All right, so we're going to play that song in a second. I just wanted to say hello to Ann, Jeannie, and Yvonne. We'll try to hit some more later. Let's hit that song by Phil Paz here.
Thank you, soldier, for your noble sacrifice. Never forgotten how you paid the price. Our freedom is a strong one, paid with sweat and blood, tears and dirt. On the field it turns to mud. Freedom called, freedom called, and the chosen ones were ready. Freedom called, freedom called, and the chosen ones came running. Thank you, mothers, for sending us your best. We hear your cries and feel the heartbeat in your chest.
Freedom called, freedom called, and the chosen ones were ready. Freedom called, yeah, freedom called, and the chosen ones came running. Thank you, soldier, for your noble sacrifice.
Butch, hello. Butch muted me. I guess he's trying to tell me something. Phil, I think you're still muted. He's off. Great song, Phil. Really nice.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. It's
I would love to. Are you coming up May 5th for our show in the city?
No, I'm not going to be able to make that.
You're not gonna be able to make it. All right. I'll sing your song then. I'll sing.
Okay.
Great song. Let's getting back to a few yucks here. I wanted to bring in Les Deegan, my wordsman. Les is much stronger than me. He's a Jewish comic, and he brings a Jewish flair to our Laughter Saves Live show. I don't know what that means, but
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, John. I got to tell you, first of all, I'm still getting over being all verklempt from watching your presentation, Phil. Thank you for your service. You have an amazing voice. If you were on The Voice, all 4 chairs would have turned around, and Blake Shelton you would have picked because he would have gone like this.
Yes.
Thank you.
And Les,
Thanks,
do you feel the same way about the pedicure?
I was just going to say, one of my pet peeves is I absolutely detest. It would have been funnier if I came in with it from left field, but one of my biggest pet peeves is when a retired FDNY guy shows off his feet on a weekly television show. I despise that.
I'm in touch with my feminine side, and I want to show men that this is okay for them to do. I did go in there with a mask on and a helmet, so nobody knew who I was.
Well, I didn't.
No, I want you. Don't listen to this, but John, you have beautiful toes.
Thank you.
I didn't see any pictures of this, but at any point did they had to bring in one of those stump grinders to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she did. But when I was sitting there, I said, some people walking in, I go, oh, somebody's going to recognize me. And I go, you know what? I'm going to bite the bullet, I said. And then I go, what does that mean? And all these analogies started flowing in my head. And I'm like, I was so confused about what some of these things mean. I go, let me talk to Les. Les knows a lot about it. So, Les, what do you think about all these different analogies that are out there?
Some of them are ridiculous. So I just heard another one today.
Yeah.
I don't know what the weather's like in Oklahoma, Phil, but right now it's like freezing here. So
There's
always one guy that says, it's colder than a
that's family show. Family show.
Oh, I can't. Can I say the B word?
I don't know which B word you want to say.
Right. It's colder than a witch's you know what.
Okay, good.
Which is really the stupidest thing in the world because I've never felt one. Phil, John, listen, before you got married to Paula, you're very happy, but you used to be somewhat of a ladies' man, Casanova.
Now you're talking.
Did you ever touch a witch's you know what?
No, I have never.
Right, exactly.
You would figure
maybe,
even a witch
a warlock has touched one. But you know what? I thought of touching one once because when I was a kid, I had a big crush on Elizabeth Montgomery.
Yes.
From Bewitched, right? But then it dawned on me, why would her you know what be cold? Because the rest of her is so hot.
True. Phil, what were you going to say?
Makes sense?
Phil, you were going to say
whenever you see a witch, they're always in front of this hot cauldron. So if it's steaming hot over the cauldron, why would they be cold? I don't get it.
Let's move beyond that. Phil, you were going to say something there?
No, I was agreeing with Les. I mean, why would a witch not even be smart enough to come in out of the cold? So I don't know. Yeah.
Let's bring up one more analogy. We have 2 unbelievable guests tonight.
I was thinking of this. The other day I saw the movie Forrest Gump, and everybody repeats this stupid thing. Life is like a box of chocolates. It's
Right.
not like a box of chocolates. Over the holidays, I got a box of Russell Stover, and in the top of the box, well, I say it's because you never know what you're going to get, but in the top of the box, underneath, it has a picture and name of every single piece of chocolate. So really,
right.
you do know what you're going to get, right? Right?
Les,
Thank you. There you
give me
go.
your comic face. Give me your comic face. Do you have a comic? There it is. Les Negan.
Thanks.
Thank you,
God
Les,
bless
for
you,
coming
Phil.
on.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Les.
John. See you,
Beautiful.
everybody.
See you,
Love
Les.
Les Negan. He does a lot for Laughter Saves Lives Foundation. He's a good man. Let's waste no time and bring out Marsha Collier, our first guest, Phil. She has a new book out. Hello, Marsha, in red.
Hey.
Lady in red. She has a new book out called Android Smartphones for Seniors for Dummies. Now, I thought that she picked my show because she said this is a dummy. So if I can teach this guy about androids, is that the truth, Marsha?
No, it's honestly because I figured you were smart enough to realize that this just isn't for seniors. When I write for seniors, I write no BS books.
Yes.
And that's the way I write. It's a different kind of writing. So if you have an Android phone, I figure there's so many myths out there and so many ways they're trying to get your data that I wrote the book to help people out. I first found out when the vaccine started.
I was going to say, I read that the book idea came during the coronavirus pandemic, which was still going through, but because of it.
But everybody couldn't get their vaccinations. Hi, Yvonne. How are you?
Hey, Yvonne.
Hi. Hey, Tracy. Anyway, so I went to my neighbors and they're playing with their phones, Android and iPhone, and they can't figure out how to get through to the website or what to do or what. So I went from house to house to help people. And I was shocked
Awesome.
that it wasn't just seniors. Everybody needed help in getting into these websites because, to be honest with you, the government doesn't do such a great job always with quick websites. And so I said, this is something that's needed. And my publisher asked me to do iPhone for seniors. And I don't do iPhone. I'm an Android. So I only like to write about things that I can really write about and really, not give baloney to the reader.
Yeah, it's it's kind of crazy because they you take your general population and they hand millions of these phones called androids. Well, okay, why not give me a Will Robinson robot or a C-3PO? I don't know how to work them. But so it's good that you're putting these books out and people know what to do. And
well, the hardest thing about these phones is it's not just one phone. Android is the operating system. I can name off a dozen brands. When I wrote the book, I had 6 phones plugged in. My house kind of looked like a T-Mobile store. And I'm checking everything on every phone to see if it's the same thing. And I learned a lot of lessons that there's a lot of marketing that goes into these phones. And there's a lot of data being sucked up by people. And in my book, I teach you how to stay safe and not to give away your data.
Can you give I don't want to give away your book, obviously your whole book, but can you give us 1 or 2 ways to protect ourselves from this data theftery?
Okay, easy. The first one, and Johnny, we talked about this earlier, and this upsets me no end. So you turn on the phone, and one of the first things it says is, please put in your emergency information because this will keep you safe. Put in all your medical history and your drug stuff. Well, I drove around to about 6 firehouses here in LA, and I spoke to EMTs, and I spoke to lots of first responders. And you know what? They don't look at your telephone. They're busy doing things like saving lives, making you breathe, stuff like that. When are they going to start putzing around with your telephone? So what does that do? That leaves your data in your phone. And you can say you lock your phone, but that emergency information can be gotten by just a swipe if you've put it in there. So you lay it on the bar you're having a little cocktail, talking to someone.
Right.
Someone over your shoulder who knows what they're doing can go over to your phone, swipe the top of it, see all your medical information, get your contact information, take a picture of it, walk away, and the phone goes back and you never know the difference.
And on a
Yeah.
side note, like we spoke about on the phone, just like putting home in your GPS in the car. What do
Yeah,
you have for home? What do you have for home on your GPS, Marsha? What did you tell me?
Okay, I did this before I even knew you.
I love it.
The home on my GPS takes them to the local cop house.
I love it.
Takes them to Devonshire Division. But there is one thing you can do on your phone to stay safe. If you have an Android phone, you go into the settings and you go into lock screen and search the word text on lock screen. You can put in a number, maybe it's a Google Voice number, maybe it's another number, reward if found, and it scrolls across your lock screen. So nobody can get into it. They can get that number, and that way if anybody ever picks up your phone, they know who to contact. And
Love it.
Wow.
Very
Yeah, you
smart. One more. Give us one more perta from the book.
oh, so many.
As we say, that's what they say in
Hey, listen.
Brooklyn. Give me a perta.
I've got one for you, Marsha. You know, we've actually talked about this before, but I was talking to my son one time on the phone, and he said, "Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll meet you in about an hour." And he said, "Okay, drop a pin, and I'll meet you there." I'm like, "Drop a pin? I'm not even holding a pin. What are you talking about?" Does Android have one of those type of?
Actually,
systems?
it does, but it's not dropping a pin. You open up Google Maps. Now, remember, depending on your phone brand may have duplicate apps, and they may even have a similar logo. So you have to be sure you're using the Google app. This isn't because I care so much about Google, but if you're sharing information, why just share it with one company instead of sharing it with all the different companies who want to load up your phone? So you just go to the map, you'll see where you are, tap the location, and then you press on the upper corner, share, and you can share it to a text and it'll tell exactly where you are. But the thing on the iPhone, they have those trackers.
Yes.
I don't know if in where you guys are that it's a problem, but people are dropping trackers into women's purses. A swimsuit model. As a matter of
Interesting.
fact,
Yes, I saw that.
Okay, so what does Apple do? Apple comes out with an app that says if you put this on your Android phone, you'll be able to know if it's on you. But guess what? There's been an Android app in the Play Store called AirGuard, and that was developed for Android. Again, do you want to let Apple into your phone if you're an Android? Up to you. You want to share all your data, your contacts, and everything? Why not use one that's already designed for Android only?
It's all so bizarre. Yeah. I mean, I think we all saw this movie. I mean, isn't that the way Skynet got started? And we all saw how that ended up. But anyway, yeah, it's scary sometimes to think about the technology.
And we have to be proactive. We have to take our own responsibility. And I wish I was funnier.
You and you know what? I say the same thing every time I get on stage and I get off the stage. Man, I wish I was funnier. Good information for our viewers. We don't all have to be funny. It's interesting guests with a comedy slant. You are an interesting guest with a comedy slant.
Thank you.
You smiled, you laughed, you gave us good info. Where can we book? Tell me the name of the book again.
The book is Android Smartphones for Seniors. I always also wrote eBay for Dummies, which is in its 10th edition. You can find me at Marsha Collier on Twitter, Facebook, but I'm always on Twitter. You can find me there. You can DM me. My messaging is open, and love to talk to anybody.
Marsha, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Great information.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. It was
good to see you again, Marsha.
Phil. Good luck.
Okay.
You will. Have a great night, Marsha. Marsha Collier, very, very interesting. Look at her books. Look at our website. Look at everything on Twitter and all of that stuff. Very interesting. I think, Phil, we're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be back with Kareth Foster.
Sounds good.
"9/11 didn't end on 9/11. 500,000 people were exposed to the World Trade Center toxins and are still at risk today. 68 cancers have been linked, including skin cancers, prostate cancer, breast cancer, blood cancers, and many respiratory illnesses. Fortunately, all victims qualify for free health care, and more than $10 billion is available from the 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund.
I was a paralegal just 2 blocks from Ground Zero. I had skin cancer and lymphoma.
I worked at Goldman Sachs. I had kidney cancer and respiratory illnesses.
I was a downtown teacher. I had breast cancer. I qualify.
I qualify.
I qualify.
If you were downtown anytime on or after 9/11, call Barish and McGarry, the lawyers for the 9/11 community. Call today. No law firm has recovered more money, with over $2 billion awarded to 9/11 victims. If you worked, lived, or went to school in the exposure zone on or after 9/11, call Barish and McGarry today.
My father worked downtown. He died of bladder cancer.
I ran from Gateway Plaza in a cloud of smoke as the towers fell.
My mother and I qualify.
I qualify.
Barish and McGarry's advocacy for 9/11 victims isn't just professional, it's personal. With offices just steps from Ground Zero, they witnessed the pain of the 9/11 attacks and lobbied Congress to pass and permanently extend the Victim Compensation Fund.
I was a downtown court officer. I had prostate cancer in 2007. I qualify.
We all qualify.
I didn't even get a chance today to throw up my fire trucks properly in my picture because I was a last minute from home instead of going into the studio. Yes, Butch.
Real quickly, before we bring Kareth on, our buddy TJ, Chef TJ, just sent me a message. You know, they're raising money for Laughter Saves Lives. The kids are doing a coin penny war. They've raised $350 so far for Laughter Saves Lives, and TJ is going to match that with an additional $350 from the Randolph High School Culinary Club.
That's $700.
$700.
And I just found out Butch is going to match that $700 more. Thank you, Butch.
I'm out.
Yeah, get rid of Butch quickly. Phil, I am so I hate when people say this when they talk shows and blah blah blah. Oh, I'm so excited about our next guest. I have to tell you something. I am so excited about this next young lady. Let's bring her out here, Kareth Foster. This is I don't want to say a very old friend of mine because I look old and she still looks smoking hot, this chick. Hello, Kareth. How are you?
Hello, darling. How are you?
One of my favorite people in the comedy, favorite people that I've ever met, but in the comedy world, the sweetest, the nicest, funny, but a good heart and a good person. And I hope I have this story right because my brain is so scrambled. And after 9/11, everything was a blur. But Kareth was the first co-host on my original.
Yeah. Oh no, you paused.
Froze. She froze. Do you remember that?
I do. I remember being on. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know
that was a while ago. I mean, that was a long time ago. Many things happened since.
That was pre 9/11. I have a tendency in my life to pre 9/11, post 9/11 because my life changed and started in all over again in a different way. But it was pre 9/11. You were my co-host before Tommy, who I lost on 9/11. I think you did 1 or 2 shows because when I started the show, I said, I need somebody who is funny and smart to balance my stupidity. And, so I brought her on for 1 or 2 shows. And I always said when you were on the Howard Stern show for a while.
Well, I was on Imus. I'm sorry. But I have been on Howard's show.
I know that.
That's my middle name.
Yes. And she was on Imus, and I always said, well, she got to start on my show, Thank you for being here.
Oh, I'm so thrilled to be here. Like, as excited as you were to have me, I'm excited to see you again. And I'm sorry, we've tried to connect a couple times, and I was a little bit under the weather. I just didn't want to come on hacking and ruin your show.
No. This is great. This is great. You're worth waiting for. For. So when I started reading your bio and stuff, you're the CEO of Inversity Solutions. You're still doing stand-up, yes?
I do occasionally, yeah.
Okay, occasionally. And you're the founder of Frame, the Foster Russell Alliance for Meaningful Expression.
Yes.
Two really cool things. When I started reading about this Inversity, I was like, oh my God, I want to work for her. This is what I've wanted to do. I always wanted to be a public speaker, and I have something to give with my background and all of that. But and we don't talk politics on this show. We don't talk politics. But I could say this in a general way. We're divided. People are divided, but I mean strongly, more than ever before. And my whole thing is I really want to listen to everybody, and I want to find where we connect. And I think what you're doing is so cool and so important. Tell our viewers what it's all about.
Absolutely. So, it began a little over a decade ago with the mission to take programming initially to colleges and universities for students who felt that they didn't belong. One of the catalysts was, of course, being on Imus and the conversation he wanted to have about race after the whole Rutgers debacle. And then there was an instance where a student at Rutgers University just coincidentally took his life by jumping off the George Washington Bridge because he was outed by fellow classmates. And obviously, any suicide, as you know, Phil, and your song was beautiful, by the way,
Thank you.
Any loss of life for someone who feels like they don't matter or they aren't valued for whatever that reason is, their skin color, their gender, their sexuality, their socioeconomic status, like that's a loss that doesn't have to be. And so if people understand that we have more in common than we don't, that we can be connected to one another. But unfortunately, that's not the messaging that's going around, especially currently. I feel like Dr. King, we just celebrated his birthday, Martin Luther King Jr. is rolling in his grave because we're not judging people by the content of their character anymore. We're dividing people further by what category you fit in. Who do you vote for? What pronoun do you use? What's your color or race? And it's nonsense. It's surface stuff. And quite honestly, it was 9/11 that was pivotal for me because that Tuesday obviously lasted for all of us forever. And then that Wednesday, we just kind of we're trying to wrap our minds around what happened. And that Thursday, I found myself at the Jacob Javits Center with some of my friends on 34th Street and 11th Avenue. But it wasn't just us. It was thousands upon thousands of New Yorkers who were there to give blood, who brought water and food and tools, to do anything that they could to help. And in that moment, and for 2 weeks after, there was no race, there was no age, there was no religion, there was no politics. It was people, human beings there to help human beings. So I know it's possible. We just have to be able to get there on a more conscious level on a regular basis. And that's what the root of Inversity is.
I love it.
A play on the word diversity, but instead of dividing, which diversity does, it's about focusing on what we have in common, how we can be truly inclusive of one another, but most importantly and powerfully, being introspective, right? Understanding your value and worth so you can see it and respect it and honor it in someone else.
I love it. I think I'm going to be all over you, begging you to be part of this in some way.
I love it. Yes.
So can you give us a story of? I was watching one of your videos, and people were moved by the way you speak. And that when I teach a class to firefighters, I'm there. I try to entertain them because if I'm entertaining them, they're more interested in what I'm saying, and they're going to learn and they're going to listen. And I know you're the same way when you give these talks. Can you give me a situation where somebody came up to you afterwards, or a year later wrote to you, and said how this affected them?
Well, humor, I mean, first of all, the fact that you and I both still use humor in everything that we do, that's so critical because, while it is subjective, yes, comedy is subjective, but that's its blessing and its curse. What it does do is it connects us and it unites us and it creates a neutral space for especially really taboo subjects where, people would typically be on the offense or the defense. So when you can use humor as a way to just kind of set the stage and the tone for opening people's hearts and minds, That's how you get in with the message. And
Right.
so, you know, I was in South Dakota a couple years back, and this older gentleman, I mean, he was in his like 60s, mid 60s or so. You know,
I'm going to be 63, so watch it.
Shut up. You do not even look like it. You
Gentleman.
don't even look like it.
All right. go ahead.
Like I said, it was a few years ago, so I was
All
younger
right.
then too.
All right.
But he, you know, he was if he was from Texas, we call him a good old boy, right? Or redneck.
Right.
And he's from South Dakota, and you know, he probably had never engaged with a black woman for sure. I mean, in South Dakota, and he was, you know, at this quote unquote diversity training, which is, you know, unfortunately the umbrella I have to go in under because that's the word people use, even though
Right.
what I do is completely, you know, the opposite of it because it's about bringing people together and uniting us. But he came up to me afterwards. He said, you know, Miss Foster, he said, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about your message. I didn't really even want to be here. He said, but the way that you said it and the way that I felt like I was part of it and included, he goes, I know I got a long way to go. He goes, but you really planted some seeds for me, and I appreciate that. And I'm going to work on it.
I love it. I love it. Just today, I was in a deli. Do you have delis in Texas? Do they have?
Yeah,
delis?
of course.
Yeah, was in a
I mean,
deli.
not like New York delis, but we
Right.
do, but,
Yeah.
you know.
I've been all over the country teaching, but delis, I think in New York, are a little bit. So I walked into this deli that I went to as a kid because I took my dad to that funeral today, and I walked in. There was no music playing. There was one lady behind the counter, and it was very soft. And I always love to talk to people. I just love people. But I love it the most when you're not looking to get anything and they're not looking to get anything. It's just a discussion.
Yeah.
And I said to her, where is the music? And she goes, oh, I go, you don't like music? She goes, no. So I said, oh, all right. I said, you want me to sing? I could sing for you for the next day. Nah, she had so after about 10, 15 minutes, she started warming up. And I said to her, do you want me to stay? And in a very New York fun way, without a smile, she said, get lost. But the get lost was she enjoyed my company.
Right,
You know,
right.
I know she never smiled. She never smiled. But when I was leaving, I go, nah, that was good.
There you go. And that's what
that's
I mean,
what-
that's what it's all about, John,
Yeah.
making that connection with another human being. And
Yeah.
we need that. And that's
We do.
unfortunately what has been taken from us during this past 2.5, year and a half or whatever with COVID. Like, we need to be in each other's presence. We need to be connected to one another. We need to be feeling like we're part of something greater than just us.
We need to reach out to people who we don't agree with on other levels, right? And we're human. We're human. When you don't agree on a certain level, you get that feeling. But everybody waits for the other person to reach out. If you reach out just in any way, hey, how about those Mets? I haven't spoke to somebody in 6 months. Maybe, they know we were on different sides of the fences, but it's reaching out in some way. It's the reaching out. It's not what you're saying. It's that reaching out. There's Phil. Yeah.
Sorry about that. My internet is crazy.
That's
Hey,
okay.
Kareth, I just wanted to tell you that before I came on the show, I was watching your videos, and you were talking about your mom and your dad and that story.
On my TED Talk,
Yes,
Yeah.
and first of all, your dad was such a hero for the way that he handled life, and he's a veteran, an Air Force veteran at that, which I'm an Air Force veteran, and you talked about. You feel like you didn't belong. And a lot of people can relate to that, because if you look at me, people can look at me and they automatically assume something. But, my dad was Mexican, and my mom was a white girl from Eastern Oklahoma. They got together. They had me and my 4 brothers and sisters. And some of my brothers and sisters look like my dad, and some of us look like my mom. And we would go to Texas and Mexico and visit our Mexican family, and I'm like, who are these people? And I would be called Güero, which is white boy, basically. And then on the other hand, my sisters and brothers who look not white would be treated a different way. And for a long time, and still to this day, sometimes I wonder, like, okay, well, things are kind of weird sometimes. So you touched on a lot of things that I actually felt like when I was growing up.
Sure.
And I want to thank you for doing what you're doing. It's, you know, it's just, it's inspirational to me, and I know it is for a lot of other people. And I want to thank you so much for doing that.
It is inspirational is the word.
Thank you.
I wanted to, let's go to commercial and we'll come back with Kareth. And usually we close with a comic doing some shtick, not standing behind a mic, sitting. I'm going to let you do what you want. If you want to continue talking about this, if you want to talk about something funny in one of your bits, whatever you want to do, Kareth, because you're a unique guest.
We'll make it happen.
Yes, and we love
It'll be wonderful. Whatever we do, just stay tuned. It'll be a surprise.
There you go. Let's go to commercial. We'll be back with Kareth Foster.
Hi, I'm Gretchen Rossi.
And I'm Arthur Lee, the creator of LifeVac.
We're here today to announce that to date, LifeVac has saved hundreds of lives of people who almost died due to choking.
People may not realize that on average, 14 people a day die from choking-related incidents. Every 5 days, one of those lives is a child. That's why I created LifeVac.
And as a new mom, and from housewife to housewife, I felt compelled to share with you the discovery of this life-saving device.
LifeVac is a simple-to-use airway clearance device. Just place, push, and pull to save a life.
And it costs less than it would take to fill up your car with a tank of gas. Imagine being able to save a life for less than $70.
To learn more, please visit lifevac.net.
That's LIFEVAC.net.
Please don't allow one of your loved ones to become the victim of choking accident.
The beauty of doing the show from home, the bathroom is right there. Right there. As Karen said, I am getting older. She didn't want to say 63 in February. I need the bathroom right there. You know what we're going to do quick? We have some upcoming shows. Now, here's my attitude with shows. People need to laugh. A lot of shows are being canceled. Laughter saves lives. We just keep moving forward. If it gets canceled, it gets canceled. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We're going to do some online. That big PD police fundraiser. We're working with a radio station out of Ohio. Phil's going to be on that one, I hope. That's going to be an awesome night. Bobby, throw up some flies before we finish with Kareth. February 11th, Forest Hills Lions Club in Queens. Love doing shows with these people. Salt of the Earth. We're going to be there for the Lions Club. Next, March 4th, One Soldier, One Dog, One Team. They set up veterans with doggies to help them get through some tough times. A really cool organization. We love them. Next, regular Firehouse show, Sayville Hook and Ladder. Great lineup. Go ahead next. Freeport Yacht Club, just a bunch of people with money wanting to have a show. Columbia Hook and Ladder, another typical Firehouse show. We love them. This is the big one that we wanted Phil on, but he can't make it. May 5th. This is going to be so freaking cool. At the Fire Department Museum in Manhattan. Mary Kennedy is flying in. We're recording this for our pilot on Laughter Saves Lives. 3 great organizations. Friends of Firefighters, who's been there since 9/11 for us. Fired Up for a Cure. They do a whole bunch of stuff out of headquarters. And a new organization we just hooked up with, Fight for Firefighters Foundation. They build ramps for FDNY disabled firemen and their families. Really cool organization. Built one last week. We gave him some bucks. I think we gave him enough money for 4 steps. Or no steps. For the ramp. I don't know. Let's get back to Kareth. Woo!
That's a lot. You guys are killing it. I love it. So you want to hear a funny story about Mary Kennedy and me?
What's that?
So I said you want to hear a funny story about me and Mary Kennedy?
We love Mary Kennedy. We love you. Can't be bad story.
Well, she's one of my best friends, and she and I obviously have been friends as long as I've known you. I was at her wedding, and when I was getting married, like 10 years later, I was like, I got to find a dress. I don't want to be like a bridezilla. I go, I love the dress that you wore. And she goes, well, why don't you try it on? So I try on her wedding dress that she had worn like so many times for like improv shows and stuff. Like she'd worn it to death. Like she'd probably worn her wedding dress more than anybody's ever worn their wedding dress ever after they got married.
Good for her.
I tried it on and I was like, this is it. It's perfect. So for $162, I went to David's Bridal, got it taken in a little bit, and I wore her wedding dress at my wedding.
Here's what I love about that. Number one, it's your friend. You must have been so honored to wear her dress, right? But so many brides would be like, I got to have my own dress. I got to spend a few $1,000s. And the fact is, you would look beautiful in anything. All right. And the fact that you did that says a lot about who you are. There's a much bigger picture there. It says a lot about who you are. It was not important. The important things, you know what the important things are.
Exactly. It was I was not going to be Bridezilla. It was my something borrowed. Like, it checked off so many boxes. So Mary and I will always have that special bond.
Did you give it back to her?
No, I still have it. Well, because I had to take it in. I don't know if it's going to fit her anymore.
You're supposed to.
We're different shapes. Huh?
You're supposed to give it back.
You're supposed to give it. Oh, I didn't know that.
But my one daughter is now 28, so maybe
I can't believe that. You're grandpa.
To save a few bucks, I may be calling you about that dress.
There you go.
Talk her into it.
I love it. I love it.
I got two lovely daughters who just think I'm a friggin' idiot. It's so funny. I could
all children. So I have kids now.
Yes, of course I do.
So I have my kids are so funny. They're so I married an Australian, which means he has absolutely no filter. So their mom's a comedian, their dad's Australian. Like, these children have no hope of being like normal people. But they're so funny and so sweet. And I'm doing my best to be like a good mom, right? And so this past Halloween, one of the funniest things came out of my baby's mouth. She's 7. And I said, listen, we're going to go out trick-or-treating. Let's bring the cat inside to make sure that she's safe. And my little one's like, well, why, Mom? And we teach them, be curious, ask questions, question everything. And I said, well, because, people aren't nice sometimes to cats. And she did, I wasn't going to go into the gory detail that on Halloween, people do really heinous, awful things to animals. And so she's like, but why? Why? I go, well, sweetheart, Mommy just wants Twinkle to be safe because sometimes people do naughty things to cats. And she looks up at me with her big, huge brown eyes and she goes, you mean like touch them on their privates? I was like, that wasn't where Mommy was going, but I'm proud of you for knowing that's not appropriate.
The lessons are crossing, but it was there. It was there. Anything else you want to tell us about your kids?
Oh my gosh. I mean, they're amazing. I'm lucky. I'm just blessed all around. Like, they're just a my older one's an aspiring comedian. Like, she's actually writes her own jokes. Like, one of her original jokes is, what do you call a duck that does stuff with music?
What?
A conductor.
I like it.
Like, that's for an 8-year-old. Like, that's not too bad.
I'm at the point where I'm going to use that in my act. Yes, Butch. Yes, Butch.
Well, we are almost out of time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank all of the Suki and Scott viewers, all the Phil's fans. They were all on board tonight. Pam and Elizabeth and Yvonne and Jeannie, all the regulars from the Suki and Scott show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our show, and you'll be back every Wednesday night here on Strong Island Television at 8 p.m. Eastern.
And I just want to say that Elizabeth, who is one of our viewers, brought up a good point before with Kareth. I want Elizabeth to know I'm listening to her, that you never know what kind of day somebody is having when you see them on that day. You never know. So you could be the best part of that day. What I always like to say is, hey, it was nice talking to you.
So real quickly, Phil, let everybody know again the name of the song and where they can see it.
Freedom Call. That's available on any streaming service.
Kareth, where can they find you?
They can find me at kareth.com or inversitysolutions.com. And we didn't talk about it, but part of what Inversity is about is personal responsibility and learning to be happy with who you are as you are. And so my book, You Can Be Perfect, You Can Be Happy, is on Amazon, or you can go to my website and get order a signed copy.
I think, Butch, I would love to have Kareth back on. I would say to co-host, because
absolutely,
she's, what I think about her. She thinks, I'm not just saying this on the air, Missy. I told Butch this for weeks. So we will be, Missy, look at me like a class. Hey, Missy, come back. She's going to come back now. We'd love to have you on, Missy.
And Phil's definitely going to be back. We know Phil's going to be back. I'll be back. And we'll have Phil do a little live singing next time.
Absolutely. Phil and I will sing a song. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. Marsha, thank you. We will see you next week at Laughter Saves Lives live.
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 Bye, guys. Bye.
Take care.
Old leather gloves, we're slapping in hands. Popcorn and peanuts, we're working the stands. Pink cotton candy, love on a stick. Who's chasing the beer? They circle the lips, play ball. Play ball. Load up the bases and smack it right over the wall. Play ball. Play ball.